Your Worship, you've been involved in local government for many, many years.
Yes.
And back in the early 1990s, as I learned when I went there, Fredericton went through a really wrenching recession of its own, which ended up being part of a long-term structural change. And I think that lesson is very interesting right now because we, of course, globally are going through a wrenching recession, which probably has some elements of major structural change to it. So could you just tell us a bit about that history?
First of all, Robert, I just want to say good morning to our team. You know, we've got a great team here from Fredericton, award-winning Chamber of Commerce, the Business Development Corporation, the university, the stakeholders, family and friends. So I just wanted to say hello because we're a team in Fredericton. Getting back to the 1990s, we were an institutional city. Government universities were starting to cut back. So at one time in Fredericton, it was not unusual if you graduated from university as one of our children that there would be a job there for you, and that was starting to change.
Actually, a job in government, for instance?
A job in government, exactly. So in 1992, realizing that change was happening across the country, we undertook an economic development strategy and hired Cooper's Lybrand to come down to our community. And the entire community was empowered and engaged in this process with all of the stakeholders, people who lived there. We brought them all together and asked ourselves some basic questions. First of all, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Where were we and where did we want to go? And from that economic development strategy in 1992, we realized that we had intellectual infrastructure in place, being the first university to offer computer science in the country. And we had a lot of research and development that was taking place. So what we decided back then was we wanted to be a smart city. Our premier was just introducing the information highway. We thought that was the smart thing to do. We thought it was innovative. We thought it was visionary. And we thought this is the direction that we're going to head in. Since 1992, we have never wavered from that. We're not trying to be all things to all people. Talked about the flavor of the month. And it has paid great dividends. We have the Knowledge Park. We have many businesses, including RIM, who just made their second acquisition outside of Waterloo in Fredericton. So it has worked, but it's because we have maintained a steady path, believed in our mission, and ended up where we wanted to be.
And I visited a number of those companies, and it was interesting to watch how each of them, probably because you worked hard, but each of them told me a similar story, which was about, you know, we're here, we're getting a lot of support from the government of Fredericton and its various entities, like the carrier that we'll talk about in a moment, but also right up the hill is, you know, UNB, University of New Brunswick, and when we need talented people, that's a factory up there cranking them out. And, you know, you could see all the elements connecting, which is part of what's impressive about Fredericton. Okay, so you stood up and you put together a program. Where did communications fit into this? Why all of a sudden did you have to go into the communications business, which is of course a daring thing for a government to do?
It's, you know, at that time broadband was being rolled out around the world. It was not being rolled out as quickly as we would have liked in Fredericton. Understanding our goal to be a smart city, as I've said before, we provide sidewalks at no charge. Why would we not provide high-speed internet at no charge? We were paying probably 3 times more than they were in New York for this. So we decided that we would form our own telco. Not an easy thing to do. We were threatened if we did that, but nevertheless, we thought it was the right thing to do. So we did it. About 12 companies participated and believed in what we were doing. Out of those 12 companies, after the first year, we paid everything off. We had no debt, and there was enough in the pipe to be able to provide free Wi-Fi for the entire community. That's how that happened. And communities now across North America, as you know, are trying to replicate that. We get calls continually, and it seems like such a simple exercise, but because of competition, pending lawsuits, and so on and so forth, it's very, very difficult. So we did it at a time when it wasn't so difficult, and now people enjoy free wireless in the city.
Well, let's unpack that a little bit, because one of the things I think that Fredericton has done right is the staging of it. In other words, the first thing you did was to pull together some users and aggregate their demand. And that's, you have people who are already doing telecom spend every year. So you had already, a source, if you will, of revenue for such a thing. You build out a network to serve them, and that's kind of a no-brainer. The business model for building your own network to serve a discrete group of users is easy. And then you use that success as your platform to extend it outward. I think, again, that's something that I'm very passionate about, is this stuff can pay for itself at every step along the way if you do it properly.
Do it properly. What our objective is to provide high-speed internet to virtually everybody. And there's nothing more frustrating than when you travel to try and connect to your community. I just did it in my hotel for $12.95. That's
can anybody figure out why hotels charge you for this stuff? I mean, duh, because it makes money, but huh? And here's one of the mysteries of life. A 5-star hotel will charge you a 5-star price for it, and you go down to Hampton Inn and it's free. Can't figure that one out.
Well, Hampton Inn is got it figured out. And it's the same thing with an airport. You see the Wi-Fi sign, you get all excited, you get your laptop out, directs you to a site and asks for a credit card. That's not really, that's not motivating people to get connected. And I don't know how the rest of the world is, but in Fredericton, when we travel, we've got to be connected because we are there. And it's the portal to the world. And it still boggles my mind that hotels are charging for high-speed internet.
Okay, so if you're in the hotel business, sorry, but we got some problems with you. All right, so you built the network, you got that up, and I've met some of the real smart people who keep it running and make sure that it's extremely cost competitive and all those things it needs to be. And you have this economy that's been transformed from an institutional, governmental economy to one which is institutional but also entrepreneurial. How do you think specifically having that network availability, having that connectivity, is helping for instance, some of the companies that we saw up on the screen there just a few minutes ago? I mean,
we talk daily. We communicate daily. At one time, the question was, why are you there? Today, the question is, why aren't you here? You see, at one time it was location, location, location. And so people were in New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, London, Shanghai. I mean, they were there because of the location. Today, that's not important because our businesses in Fredericton are doing business in all of those centers. Whether it's engineering, research and development, software development, it's all being done there. And what they're finding is they get to do that with the intellectual infrastructure that we have in place, but they get to do it with a quality of life where the sun shines every day, the salmon jump in the river, it's like a garden.
Never snows, there's never any, it's a tropical paradise, it's like.
He's getting carried away.
Yes, we do get a little snow.
It is beautiful, it's a beautiful place. One of the things I like about Fredericton as an American is that the reason Fredericton is where it is because the people who settled it travel up the river until they figured they were finally safe from an American invasion.
You know, that's an interesting point that Fredericton was chosen as the provincial capital of New Brunswick because of its location so far inland that it was easier to protect from attack. So you're absolutely right.
I like that one. Let me just talk about government for a second, because one of the things that interested me a great deal about Fredericton was that, of course, you are the provincial capital, and there are many advantages that come with that. So you're busy building an entrepreneurial economy, but you definitely have not lost touch with the advantages. One of the things that I did in Fredericton was to visit Canada's largest military base, I believe, which interestingly enough is so large that it's also in Moncton. At one end, and saw what the Canadian Armed Forces are doing there, and again, that's one of the advantages that come with being, it would seem no accident to me that it was located where it was.
And the Canadian Armed Forces base in Gagetown is the largest military base in the British Commonwealth, and they're doing cutting-edge training technology. It's rather incredible to see it, and you did, and I'm glad you did, because it's just much more than a training base. for the rest of the world. It's cutting edge. There's simulations. They're doing almost like video games, but very, very high-tech video games, to be able to perform what they do outside the theater of war, so they're better prepared when they get there. Yeah, this is an example. I got to meet a major who toured us around who said, yeah, Canadian military pays me to play video games, which yes. I thought was, and of course, he was being facetious, but what he showed us was a SWAT team training exercise in which in the traditional thing, everybody with these people with their gear would go into the room and perform exercises essentially in an empty room. Well, now it's a video-enabled thing. So you walk in and there's a terrorist or a hostage taker, and when you point your rifle at him, he says, no, 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 because the system senses that the rifle's being, I mean, it was fascinating. Another thing that was impressive to me in Fredericton was your educational establishment. Now, I probably don't go to enough schools, so my opinion may not be worth much, but I saw applications of technology in education that I had not seen before in Fredericton. I think I may have described yesterday the classroom I walked into in which everything is silent and all the students are working away at laptops and the teacher's at the front of the room working away at a laptop, and I'm thinking, okay, is this study hall? What is this? And I find out, no, it's not study hall. There's an active class going on. It's just that it's all happening in cyberspace. The teacher has posted a blog, which is an assignment about whatever the kids have read, or I think it was a literature class. No, it was a science class. And all the kids are commenting on the blogs. And they can all see each other's comments. So there's interaction going on. The teacher can make sure he interacts with every one of the students, and all the interaction is logged so that the teacher later can go and drill down into an individual student and see that. So great application of technology. And you go to another room and they're using smart boards and doing math problems by throwing animated numbers around, and all the kids are leaning forward instead of leaning back. It was remarkable stuff. Now, how did you get there? I mean, how did I don't know how much, as I understand in your school district, of course, it's somewhat independent, but obviously there's a focus there that is rare. You know, it's, when you promote yourself as a smart city, as an intelligent city, it really encompasses the entire community, starting right at the bottom, right to the top. Everybody seems to be on the same page. You know, when it comes to education, the environment, peace, information technology, it really should begin in the classroom. That's where the magic happens. So you see, those people that you were watching in 10 or 15 years may be sitting on this very stage, continuing what has been started. So what came first at the educational level? At the government level, it's like the chicken and egg. But right now, I can tell you, it's in harmony, and people are enjoying it. And I think they're proud of the fact that we are that smart city and promote ourselves as such. Are there specific things that the government of Fredericton has done to help move that forward? Because again, I was meeting some very pumped up IT directors of school systems and principals and teachers that it's a little unusual to see. So I'm curious as to what specifically you've been able to do to foster. I really give credit to a former premier who I refer to that developed this information highway and saw the vision and saw what the future would hold. Education in Canada and in New Brunswick is the responsibility of the provincial government. So the provincial government really gets full marks here, but the local curriculum and what they do and how they do it and how they teach has a lot to do with the community. So that's where we take a little bit of credit. But we have a very good cooperation model with our provincial government. And basically what it boils down to is success in the classroom is good for everybody, not just the municipal or provincial or federal government. Success in the classroom, innovation in the classroom, bringing information technology into the classroom is going to serve us all well. Now, one of the things that I was told was that this, naturally there's never enough money for education, so we always have to go out and get corporate partners, which is great. This particular school I visited was very aggressive about that, and again, they're leveraging off the entrepreneurship that exists in your community. One example was of a class that was busy working with a graphic design studio on building what we'd call comic books, but what are more grandly called graphic novels.
And the artists are working with the kids. The kids are designing the story, telling what they want, acting as art directors. The design company's designing the panels, and they're going back and forth in an online interaction to make this move forward. And the company's doing it because it thinks it has a product. You know, it thinks if it can set this up with one school, it can do it with 1,000 schools. So very innovative stuff.
Very innovative, and somewhat, in a smart way, selfish.
Oh, I hope so.
Exactly.
It's the only way it's going to work.
And there's many examples of that.
What do you mean? What do you mean when you say that?
Well, I mean, to bring yourself into the classroom and involve yourself with the education of your children, you're doing it for a very good reason. Some of these people that are involved in the graphics may end up in a career in computer graphics. So you're introducing something that normally they wouldn't be, accustomed to. So there's a lot of businesses that are involved in school and education and curriculum trying to bring about the smart community from the bottom right to the top.
Dialing back now 20, 30, well, 20 years, I guess, to the 90s, were there moments when you thought this just isn't going to work, and what were those moments when you just said, geez, you know, we're just not good enough to get this done?
Never.
Never.
Never. As I said, in 1992, that economic development strategy wasn't the mayor, it wasn't the council, it was the entire community. And when the entire community decides something, that's very, very powerful. So I did not question the community in the deliberations. It made a lot of sense to me because we already had what I figured was the basis of what we needed to get to where we wanted to be.
How did you get that kind of unity? How did that kind of unity in the community come about? Because it's, you know, the city you're in right now is famous for its ability to stop almost anything that it tries to start, because there's always somebody who disagrees and can be very loud about it. How did that kind of, that's a very rare gift.
Okay, I think it's time for my ice cream story.
Go right ahead.
Okay. What I was trying to think about when Robert visited our community was what differentiates us between other smart communities. And, you know, everybody has a smart community. What makes you a little bit different? Here's what I think makes us different going back to 1992. If you will visualize the municipal ice cream vendor, and all the cities and municipalities are around the ice cream vendor, and he's saying vanilla is the flavor of the month. So everybody's going up and they're getting their scoop of vanilla. Fredericton went up and said, we want butterscotch ripple. And the vendor said, but that's not the flavor of the month. And Fredericton said, no, we're not looking for the flavor of the month. We want the flavor of the future. It's the flavor of the future, because whether it's the environment, whether it's quality of life, whether it's information technology, it doesn't matter. There's a flavor of the month. You want to find a smart community? Find a community that goes back as far as 1992 and asks for the flavor of the future. That is what makes us different. And you asked the question about, you know, did we ever have any doubt or any hesitation? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We never once thought of a detour to get off that track to take us to our destination. And this is a destination, as it was last year. So it's being confirmed, which is very good for the people in the community, because now they're saying and believing that through all of that, they made the right choice, they made the right decision.
Now, you have, if I'm not mistaken, you have been in and out of your current position during that time. Am I correct? I know you served as mayor. I think you left. You came back. You were re-elected, I should say.
Yes.
So how was that continuity maintained over that period of time? What was responsible for that?
You know, it's community continuity.
Okay.
That's why it was important to me at the beginning of this session to acknowledge the people that are here supporting me. So the continuity is community continuity. It's not one person or 3 people or 5 people. It's an entire community engaged in trying to fulfill a goal and an objective. And so one person steps aside, it doesn't change the whole game plan. Everybody still has the game plan, and everybody still wants to be where they want to be. And I reiterate what I said, you cannot be all things to all people, nor can you have all of your eggs in one basket. So 1992 provided diversification in the right direction. So it's not location, 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 it's habitation.
Good line, huh? Yeah, it's just it's like when somebody just wants to describe Verdi, a tune a minute, you know? It's just. Okay, so this was born in the midst of a pretty wrenching downturn.
Yes.
You came out of it. Now we're facing another big, big recession. So how is Fredericton doing now that it's an intelligent community as opposed to whatever it might have been in 1992?
You know, we're going through it basically the same way. The world is hurting economically right now. With the diversification of our economy and not having all your eggs in one basket, we have managed to be able to manage the economic downturn. So, our prices in housing are not going down. Our development continues to be record development. We have more giant cranes in the city today than we have had ever. And that's during what you would consider a recessionary period. So attitude is very good. We are never way up here, which consequently means that we're never way down here. So it's always that economic roller coaster. We try and be right here. And what it is economic stability. So while some people are celebrating and doing so well, we're celebrating and doing like this because those people are going to end up down here. You can see that all over the world right now with the millions and millions of jobs that are being lost. Chrysler just announced they're shutting down 700 dealerships. That's a tremendous impact. We don't really feel that in our community, and we're very, very thankful for it. But I think it's not only good planning, it's good management.
Actually, I should have started out by just talking a little bit about Fredericton's, economy, if you will. You've got, obviously, you're the provincial capital. You've got UNB, which, these universities have so many roles to play in the economy. What are the other sort of key parts of your economy that you like to talk about?
I like to talk about engineering. I like to talk about information technology. I like to talk about smart businesses, the universities, the research and development, the National Research Council in information technology, as you saw. They could have selected anywhere in Canada. They chose to be in Fredericton because it is a smart city and it makes sense. That's a great marriage. Research and Productivity Council, we have work being done in Fredericton right now for NASA, for the space station. So, most people when they're walking the streets, they take so much for granted. They have no idea what's happening in the back rooms, what is being done in that smart city to be able to bring us to this stage today to talk about it. So it's an incredible, incredible community, as you saw. And as I said to Lou last year when he was there, walked out and he said, I can't believe the enthusiasm in this community. And I can remember saying to him, I said, Lou, we don't turn it on and off. It's not a switch. This is the way it is. There's a great vibe on the street. People feel good about themselves. They love their community. And they would tell you the same thing after watching that video. If they didn't live there, they'd move there.
What's next? So you've had, a couple of incredible years, or more than a couple. You've had a number of incredible years. You've pushed out initiatives. You've got your network. You're managing to stand tall through a difficult economic time. What seeds is your community, you think, planting now that are going to begin to sprout within a few years?
We are going to continue to evolve as a smart city. Our staff are always working on new innovations, new things that will keep us not only smart, but also make us smarter, because we're competing with the rest of the world. So the status quo is not acceptable. It's not acceptable to rest on your laurels. You have to continually grow and evolve. And I'm happy to say that we're doing that. We're always looking at the next day, the next week, the next month to try and figure out how we're going to manage it and how we're going to stay on track. And we're doing that.
Your Worship, thank you for a very interesting 30 minutes. I think we gave people some of the flavor, although you can't get the flavor without actually going there. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Best of luck.
Thank you.